Hello. With you is Find Out Movie Recap. Today, I will talk about movie The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, The Witch, and the Wardrobe. Watch out and take care, there are spoilers in this video. Let's get started. In 1940, in the London suburb of Finchley, the Pevensey children, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, are endangered by an attack of numerous Heinkel He-111 bombers of the German Luftwaffe. As part of the Blitz in preparation for Adolf Hitler's intended invasion of Great Britain with the Wehrmacht. In the early parts of World War II, after conquering most of mainland Europe, leaving the British standing alone against the Nazi war machine. When running to the shelter in the backyard, Edmund runs back to the house to get a photograph of his father, for which Peter scolds him about when the two brothers barely avoid being injured when a window is blown out by a bomb landing nearby. Though their mother stops Peter from scolding Edmund further before Peter furiously slams the bomb shelter door shut. The next morning, they are evacuated to the country home of Professor Diggory Kirk, who is not accustomed to having children in his house, as Mrs. Macready, the strict housekeeper, explains, until it is safe to return to London. While the Pevenseys are getting used to the house and playing hide and seek out of boredom, Lucy discovers a wardrobe and, to her surprise, she enters a wintry fantasy world called Narnia. Lucy shortly encounters and befriends the faun, Mr. Tumnus, who explains about the land she has just entered and invites her back to his home, to which she accepts. There, he puts Lucy to sleep by playing a Narnian lullaby on his flute, only to be interrupted when an apparition of a roaring lion appears in his fireplace, startling him. However, when she wakes up, Lucy finds Tumnus grieving, and he explains that Jadis, the White Witch, has cursed Narnia, and it has been winter for 100 years. If a human is ever encountered, they were to be brought to her. Tumnus takes a huge liking to Lucy and cannot bring himself to kidnap her, so he sends her home. When she returns, hardly any time has passed in the normal world, and her siblings do not believe her story since that when they look in the wardrobe, it has a normal wooden back. Peter then scolds Edmund when he jokes about believing Lucy, to which Edmund responds by yelling at Peter and storms out of the room, believing that Peter is trying to be a father figure, presumably showing us that Edmund's bad behavior began when his father was forced to fight in the war against the Nazis. One night, Edmund follows Lucy into the wardrobe, presumably to tease her about the country he thinks she has made up. However, he enters Narnia as well, and shortly after searching for Lucy, he meets the White Witch who claims to be the Queen of Narnia and her dwarf Ginnerbrick, who nearly kills Edmund for his disrespect before the White Witch intervenes. She offers him Turkish delight as well as the prospect of becoming king and having power over his siblings if he brings them to her house. After she departs, Edmund and Lucy meet again and return. Lucy tells Peter and Susan about the experience, but Edmund lies about it, resulting in Lucy running into the professor as she runs from her siblings in tears over Edmund not telling Peter and Susan the truth. The professor talks with Peter and Susan. He does not understand why they do not believe Lucy's story and gives them three possible logical explanations of Lucy's behavior: madness, dishonesty, and sincerity. The others know she is neither mad nor dishonest, so she must be telling the truth. However, they are still not convinced. While running away from Mrs. Macready after accidentally breaking a window while playing cricket, the four siblings retreat to the wardrobe and enter Narnia. There, they apologize to Lucy. They discover Mr. Tumnus has been taken by the witch's secret police, and meet Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, who tell them about Aslan. Beavers explain to the children that Aslan is the creator and a true king of the Narnia world and, in general, a representation of all that is good. Aslan is just as magnificent and wise and kind. According to the Beavers, Aslan is on the move to take control of Narnia from the witch. The four must help Aslan and his supporters. It has been prophesied that if two sons of Adam and two daughters of Eve sit in the four thrones at the castle of Cair Paravel, the White Witch's reign would end. Edmund sneaks off to visit the witch, where Mr. Beaver explains the witch's motive and that the siblings now must resort to reaching Aslan to save him. When he arrives at her castle, she is angry that he did not deliver his siblings. The witch sends wolves to hunt down the children and the beavers, who barely escape with the help of a fox. Edmund is chained in the witch's dungeon where he meets Tumnus. The witch demands that Edmund reveal where his siblings are because her police could not find them. Edmund then tells her about Aslan and the witch demands to know where Aslan is. Edmund hesitates when Tumnus claims that Edmund does not know anything, and Edmund tells the witch that he heard no further information regarding Aslan. Seeing that Tumnus is hindering the information, the witch tells Mr. Tumnus that Edmund betrayed him by talking about him at Edmund's first visit, then turns Tumnus to stone, placing him in her courtyard with all her other victims. While Peter, Lucy, Susan, and the beavers travel to the stone table, they see what they believe to be the White Witch chasing after them, so they hide. It is really Father Christmas, a sign that the witch's reign is ending. Father Christmas gives Lucy a healing cordial and a dagger to defend herself with. Susan, a bow and arrows and a magical horn that will summon help when blown, and Peter a sword and shield. Pursued by wolves led by Mogrim, the group crosses a thawing river, leaving the witch unable to reach them. Mogrim and his team, who then appear, had captured the fox that helped the Pevensies escape. The witch then demands that the fox reveal the Pevensies' destination. After the fox refuses to comply, the witch is about to turn him to stone when Edmund reveals that the Pevensies are heading to the stone table and that Aslan is already assembling his army. The witch, however, still turns the fox to stone and slaps Edmund in the face for hiding information from her, before making it clear that if Aslan wants war, he will get war. Arriving at Aslan's camp, the group encounters Aslan, who is revealed as a huge and noble lion. Aslan promises to help Edmund in any way he can. Later, Mogrim and his lieutenant ambush Lucy and Susan while they are frolicking by the river. When Peter intervenes, Mogrim attacks him, and Peter kills him with his sword. After some of Aslan's troops follow the other wolf to the witch's camp and rescue Edmund, Peter is knighted by Aslan. After Edmund and his siblings reunite, the White Witch journeys to Aslan's camp and asserts her claim to the traitor Edmund, but Aslan secretly offers to sacrifice himself instead. That night, as Lucy and Susan covertly watch, Aslan is killed by the White Witch at the stone table with a crowd of creatures loyal to her watching. In the morning he is resurrected because there is a magic deeper still the witch does not know. Aslan takes Susan and Lucy to the witch's castle, where he frees the prisoners that the White Witch turned to stone, forming reinforcements for Aslan's army. Meanwhile, after a dryad reports Aslan's death to them, Edmund persuades Peter to lead Aslan's army to fight the White Witch's forces. Though Aslan's army begins to have a winning streak, the White Witch's huge army is much larger than Aslan's, that is, Peter's, so it soon begins to lose. To stop the witch from attacking and killing Peter, Edmund attacks the White Witch and destroys her wand, removing her petrification ability, but is gravely wounded by the witch in return. Peter, angered at what the witch did, fights her. As the witch fights Peter, Aslan arrives with reinforcements and kills her mere moments before she could do the same to Peter. After Edmund is revived by Lucy's cordial, the Pevensies become kings and queens, staying in Narnia until they are adults. 15 years later, while chasing a white stag through the forest, they come to the same forest clearing where there is a lamppost that Lucy saw on her first trip to Narnia. Lucy begins to remember, and with Edmund, Susan, and Peter following, fights through the trees, where they begin to tumble through the coats and finally out of the wardrobe and return to England, becoming children again. The professor enters the room and asks what they were doing. Peter replies, "You wouldn't believe us if we told you, sir." The professor tosses him the ball that broke the window and replies, "Try me." Lucy later attempts to return to Narnia via the wardrobe, but the professor tells her he has been trying for many years, and they will probably return to Narnia when they least expect to return. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos of this kind. See you on the internet. Bye.